Thinking about 30 by 40 with that front gable extension and a lean-to?
Let's break down the numbers so you can know what your dream investment could cost you. Welcome back, Pack. Anadela and Argenis here once again for another pricing video to help you guys plan out your perfect metal building.
Yeah, no, when you get a metal building, when you get your dreamy metal building, it's a big investment. It can be for storage or workshop or your own custom setup. It's very important that every dollar is well spent.
Correct. So that's kind of where you guys come in, and that's where WolfSteel Buildings, this channel, everything kind of comes into play. We want to make sure that you guys are getting ideas, that you guys are getting insights and being educated on what it is that you do and how those little tweaks affect. I know that day in and day out I hear you guys is like, oh, if you add a lean-to, it's going to add this much, or hey, have you thought about maybe going longer, not wider? Those are all things that you guys do here, so
yeah.
That's where we come into play. But at Henny's, why don't we break down these numbers?
Absolutely, yeah. Our job is to make sure it makes sense to the client. So everything she mentioned is completely right. We go over options, we go over different custom things. The whole point is to make sure it makes sense for the client and the client's still happy with the product.
Correct. So let's go ahead and get this one rolling, guys. If you do like this channel, all of our content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can stay alert to all things WolfSteel Buildings and all things metal buildings and any educational information. So let's get it rolling.
Let's get rolling.
Okay, Anthony, so what is the turnkey cost for this 30 by 40? And it's very custom. It has, that front extended and that side lean-to. What is the cost for something like that?
No, that project's super cut. The total cost is $100,848. This includes the main building, the front gable extension, the lean-to, the gutters and downspouts, the spray foam, all the material delivery, erection, taxes, and equipment.
Also concrete and accessories. Those are two things so pretty much turnkey cost of everything that you I'm hoping that you guys are seeing on here, because this is such a cool project. The B-roll should be playing already.
Oh, yeah.
Keep in mind, guys, pricing is valid for 5 days after the post date. Prices also can change if you're in certain areas. So the customer is located in Magnolia, but say we're talking about maybe like Houston, where there's high areas, versus like Dallas. There's not the same type of wind certifications needed. So there's a little bit of different in pricing. So that's why sometimes we mention that. So make sure to keep that in mind. But let's dive into the details. Argenis, tell us a little bit more about this customer and the building.
Absolutely, yes. So this client, his name is John, awesome client to work with, seriously. He actually reached out a while ago. We actually discussed the project, we went over the project, and then he did let me know he was gonna reach out back again later on, a couple months later, which is very common for projects, honestly. Since these projects are a big investment, clients like to plan ahead. They like to gather quotes, get information, and then pull the trigger at a later time. So he did actually went back, reach out again, and pull the trigger, and which became this beautiful building. So yeah, he was awesome to work with. The building is super nice. The main building is a 30 by 40 by 13. So 30 wide, 40 long, 13 feet tall. The front gable extension is 30 feet wide, 20 feet long, and also 13 feet tall. And then the side lean-to is 10 feet out and 40 feet long.
So I'm hoping you guys can see it. That way you guys can picture it, maybe get an aerial view of what that looks like. And then it also has that 412 pitch roof, which is really good. Our standard is a 312, so when you change things up a little bit, you get that steeper pitch.
Super
also,
nice.
some people match their homes with like the pitch of their home, so going all the way up to 612, definitely really nice.
Oh yeah.
Makes it different in the building. But this customer did get that 13-foot leg, which doubles. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, yes, man. So actually, this client actually agreed, and we went over everything. He actually originally was getting the building 12 feet tall, but he actually reached out again and he mentioned, hey, can we make it 13 feet tall? Because making the building over 12 feet tall, your structure actually gets more reinforcement. So your legs will be double legs, 13 feet tall, rather than single legs if they're 12 feet tall and under. Yes, ma'am.
So we do that for the 13 and the 14. And then I think that's really important to mention, especially if you're like comparing quotes and you're looking at other companies.
Oh, yeah.
When you're getting a price, it's like, how is the building being built? In this case, again, he's getting that 13-foot leg height. So, you know, you go to maybe someone else and they have a 13-foot leg height, but maybe they're just doing a single leg at that height. We're doing double, which you do see in the building. The building is spray foam, but you're able to see, and we talk a little bit about the tour, so make sure you watch that tour. So definitely things to compare on there, but
great point. No, great point. Yeah, that can be a huge change on price. Just comparing a quote that's 13 feet tall, single leg, and our quote, which is double leg, that's a whole leg missing for every leg, which is every 5 feet. So it's a lot of missing material and a lot of less labor, so the price can be a big change. Or 30 by 40 is definitely one of, I would say 90% of the most popular sizes for a reason. It's perfect for storage, it's perfect for a workshop, it's perfect for a garage, and it's 100% fully customizable. This client wanted to maximize the space without adding extra square footage to the main building. So he did extend the front gable extension, and he has the lean-to. That way he can use for a cardio or a patio.
Correct, yeah. So actually when we went out there, well, we didn't go out there, right? But when the team went out there, Adbo got like a whole insights from the customer. And it was like, he already has so much set up out there at Henny's. Man, you should have already watched the tour by then. By the time that we're recording this, you probably haven't watched it. But by the time that comes out, you should have already watched it. But man, he has like already his patio furniture. He has like a really cool like laid back chair. Abdul said, he was like, man, I don't want to leave. He was like, the customer was so cool. And like the furniture is already laid back. The weather was nice. So lots of cool things that he's already doing with that front extension. That's also a good place of like, man, I want to keep some cars inside for like workshop areas and keep that on the enclosed section, and that outside is just like kind of pull your cars in, get them out in case, you know, we do have crazy hail here in Texas. So little things like that where you just kind of keep the car in, make it more of like that carport look. And then that lean-to be your like a porch section that you can have like access in and out. So our tubular buildings have columns every 5 feet. This client decided to do a large frame out in between the columns to create a cleaner feeling. And I'm referring to the lean-to. So the side lean-to has frame outs evenly spaced. That way you have less columns every 5 feet. And that way you also remove the base rail at the bottom. The base rail at the bottom can be a trip hazard. So removing that gives you the flexibility to easily walk there, or if you have a small vehicle, you can drive through it. So that this client did decide to do that, which is a great upgrade. I always like to recommend that to my clients whenever they have a lean-to. Yeah, so the cool thing about these kind of things is like the buildings are 5 foot on centers, as you mentioned. So every 5 feet there's a column or a truss. And that's kind of supports the weight of the building, right? The whole building, the weight runs on the sides and it's evenly spaced throughout there. Whenever we are having to remove them, because sometimes customers are like, hey, like, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's like that, I want to be able to like move things in and out, right? Or anything like that, but they don't like that base row. And then they also want the liberty to have more space. That's kind of what you recommended for the client. We put 3 12 by 10 frame outs there, which created those headers. So he only has one right at the beginning, then right in the middle, and then right at the end. And then we also did 2
on the front gable
in the
extension.
front, which are 19 by 9, I apologize. So those headers are 19 wide, so you can see them on there, and in the video that you can see those headers, they are big headers. And again, it's to support the weight of the legs that we are removing from the building. Lots of cool things that he did. He also upgraded from the 14 gauge, which is the standard for the tubular buildings, but he also upgraded it to 12.
To 12 gauge, it's awesome.
So he did a lot. Adds additional to the building, those horizontal. That's definitely a change on there.
Yeah, no, 12 gauge is a big, awesome upgrade. Those give you a longer warranty as well. Rust warranty is a 20-year rust warranty. We did vertical panels on this building. The building colors are raw height, so the roof and the walls are raw height. The trim is earth brown, and this is a brown trim. And the wainscot, and also I do want to point out a note, the wainscot is free when you have horizontal panels. So horizontal panels, there is no upcharge for the wainscot. When you have vertical panels, you do have a charge for the wainscot. There's more labor involved and there's more trim involved. So that's why we have to charge for the wainscot when it's vertical panels.
So I would like to point out for the vertical panels when you do upgrade, for some people it's more of an aesthetics, kind of just depends on how you see which one looks better for you, right? Because sometimes housing, especially like depends on when your house was built. They have siding, and that actually runs horizontal. So if you try to get a building that's vertical, there can be a little bit of a clash. So that's why some people go horizontal. But there is structural benefits for that vertical. You have the additional material, additional framing, the additional girts and things like that that run on the building. And then, but when you do go that wainscot, there is going to be an additional cost because the horizontal, the panels are running like this, kind of like my fingers, and the panels are just overlapping like this versus vertical. You know, we're going to have to cut that panel and that for that top color and then cut the bottom one. And there is an additional framing member that runs there and additional trimming. So that's kind of what you're going into. So there's a little bit of difference there. But regarding cost at Henny's, Mr. Salesman, can you go over cost breakdown looking like so far for this building?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So the building is $47,972. This includes labor, equipment, and taxes. Equipment fees apply to buildings over 30 feet wide and taller than 12 feet tall. And then roof pitches that are steeper than a 312 may require equipment fee as well.
So on those equipments, a little different for tubular. Red irons have equipment always included because to be able to, like, especially if it's a weld up, you know, they're having to get things like that. Tubular buildings, as you mentioned, there's little stipulations that could, you know, require equipment. Sometimes we can get away with just labor, but if it's either one, dangerous for the installers, for our team to just be up there way too high, or two, if it's just too heavy for the team, that's when you guys start looking at that. Which I think you guys are pretty good at telling the clients at that time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think so as well.
Yeah. Process. Go over process. I think you mentioned a little bit. He reached out and then he was like, "Hey," he was honest, which is good.
Which is great.
6 months later.
We love honesty. So we actually sold this building early September, but construction didn't actually start until November, which is honestly great. September, November, so it's about a month of difference, which is a good sign.
Why was that? So we'd like to point out, again, we do offer permitting services here at WolfSteel Buildings. So if you're getting a permit or if you're getting a building, especially depending on where you're at, there might have to be a couple hoops that you'll have to jump through. In this case, the customer had to go through HOA and county.
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, we went through the whole process. Our permitting department did assist the client, and the client actually was on top of it as well. So he did help a lot. So that was why we were able to start the process quicker because of his easy approval with the HOA and with the permits. But absolutely things to consider always when going through HOA or going with permits is the building use, the building size, the placement on the property, zoning regulations for HOAs. Are metal buildings even allowed in your property or in the building location or in your HOA? It's masonry required, which is something we actually see a lot. Like sometimes require brickstone around the wainscot.
We actually have a building coming. Sorry to interrupt you. We actually have a building coming out, project coming out, which is following this one, very local to where this client is, and he had to get, due to HOA requirements, he had to get masonry. So sometimes they say it has to be the same brick from your house. You're gonna have to go through and figure out who was the builder of my house, what is this brick style or stone. Also the certain percentages. Hey, your building needs to be 75% brick, or the whole fascia of the building that faces the street. So little things like that are also things that you have to match your house with, things like that. We have a video on permitting, so I'll go ahead and link it for you guys here in case that's something that you guys are dealing with. And we also have a permitting page on our website. That'll also be linked on here for you guys. So don't worry guys, we got you guys. I know that you guys are like, hey, this is from our permitting team for you guys to take care of them on there. But let's go back to the building at Henny's. I'd love to go over a little bit about the accessories on here. There's a lot of things that kind of made the building stand out, apart from the colors, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have two garage doors, short panel design, short carriage panel that are insulated, and they do have high tracks, which means that when they open towards the roof, they don't open towards the building. I have a 12 by 12 garage door on the front. I have an 8 by 8 on the side, and then I have for the color options that we do is standard garage doors do come in white, but we do offer different custom colors for the garage doors. High lift tracks are great for maximizing your headroom, so that way when you open the garage door, you don't lose any clearance from the top of the garage door. That is very good if you have tall, heavy equipment or tall vehicles.
So we know Texas trucks We know our Texans.
Yeah.
We know our Texans.
Yes, ma'am.
All of us, not all of us, right? My car's a little lifted, but it doesn't have too much, right? But there is a lot of people who drive taller trucks. Also, if you have like RVs, things like that, and you're trying to get in. Trying to get away with like what's the shortest that I can with the tallest door. That's, I think you guys hear that often.
Yes.
Because height does affect the price. So I think that's something that customers look at. And then also we would like to point out on that 8x8, we did also have to do another header.
Yes.
Because it was on the side, so we had to remove a leg to get
Yes,
that one.
great
So
point.
those are also things that get and kind of put in whenever you're looking at prices for doors. I think sometimes you can go to like outsource your door, right? You can go to like your local hardware store, like Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards if you're a little bit higher up north. But these stores, it's like they'll sell you the door, but they're not selling you the labor to install it. If they're having to remove the doors or the headers or things like that, they kind of go into
We take care of all of that.
Correct. Yeah.
But one extremely cool thing that this client has in this building is 1 inch of closed cell spray foam. But not only that, he chose to do the color painted spray foam, which we do offer. So this client does have the ice gray spray foam on the building. Hopefully right now you guys can see it on the video. It looks extremely nice, and it's something that we are offering with the spray foam. I love it. I think it's so cool.
So we do offer white, which I think we've seen a lot in the channel. I think a lot of customers tend to go with white. Obviously, the lighter the color, sometimes it's like brighter, it opens up your space. ADVO has officially coined it on the tour that the space gray, or the ice gray, sorry, is his favorite spray.
For some reason, this color, I don't know, but it's my favorite. And maybe because it's a combination with the epoxy, where the whole thing just looks so bright, and the epoxy is also gray, and then we got ice gray on the walls. I don't know, but this is, I'm gonna say, it's one of my best favorite combination colors for being inside a shop.
Spray foam, yeah. He already said this is my favorite, so we might have to point it as ADVO's favorite. But that one still really nice. And then if you're working in there, any like dust or anything like that, if it gets on there with the white, maybe you'll be able to notice it. But with the gray, it seems like maybe it's something that kind of can get hidden. And then we also offer black, so that'll be something that we'll put on there, all three of the colors side by side. But honestly, I really like the gray, and it looks so good. He actually finished off the floor. He already has the epoxy in there, and man, I think the like contrast of like that color with the space gray, ice gray, so good.
It looks super cool.
With an insulated building, you need insulated accessories.
100%.
So we have a video on this as well, the importance of insulated accessories if you're insulating your building. But I'd Henny's go over a little bit about the insulated accessories.
Yes, man. Yeah, great point. So this specific building has two 36 by 36 double pane insulated windows. It does have one metal insulated walk-in door. And then we do have the gutters and downspouts for the building, which do help protect your building by directing water away. So the price for the accessories total for all these accessories is $25,405. This price does include the labor, the frame mounts, the installation, and taxes for all these accessories.
All your gutter system, all of those insulated accessories, all of the insulation, and your doors. I actually had to like scroll up because there's a lot of things that probably wasn't there. Even the high tracks that go into it. So everything's on there. And then another key factor that we cannot forget in metal buildings. We always say concrete is so important. Your foundation is so important to your building. It is like making sure your shoe fits, right? If you have, I think it's very common that customers already have like a concrete, maybe when they built their home or anything like that. And we do concrete a little different at Henny's. I think you guys know that. And so can you go over a little bit about the details that are involved in the concrete and what that price looks like?
Great question. Yeah, so a lot goes into concrete. We deeply believe as a company that concrete is the most important in the project. It's the most important thing in the project. Your building is not, if your concrete is not heavily reinforced, your building is not gonna be well for the building.
There's possibilities for the building having issues.
Absolutely, yes ma'am. So one thing that we provide is we provide excellent service for the concrete. So we cover it, we try to maximize and reinforce that concrete slab extremely. But yeah, we do footings, we do cross internal beams, we do vapor barriers, we do notch details where the garage doors will be placed and things like that.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing concrete is we can give you a bid and we can look at it, but there's always possibilities of like with site prep, especially site prep, because we don't see your land, right? So this customer is out in Magnolia. I don't know how far it is, but it's quite a bit of ways from here in Fort Worth where we're based out of. So with that being said, it's like we can look at it and you can send us pictures. We always appreciate pictures to kind of see.
Oh, yeah.
And some customers are aware of like, hey, this is extremely unlevel, we're gonna have to do some work here. But there's sometimes that some things you can't see, which is like it's 2 to 3 inches. Those footers need to go into undisturbed soil a certain depth, right? Those are things that we always need to take into consideration. So that's what we say. We need to make sure that your foundation is reinforced for what your soil needs. There's a lot of shifting here in the state of Texas. And then there's also like clayish soils, and sometimes you have rocky soils. So things to keep in mind. We don't include site prep in the number that the price here. And that is something that we have to go out there. So one of our contractors that we from our team that we work with are going to go out there and they're going to be like, hey, you know, this is what I see. They'll go in there and kind of see. They're the experts that like know, and then that comes in here and we kind of work with you guys in the sales team and talk to the customer and be like, hey, you know, this is what we saw. So definitely not included because we do need to go out to your site. But concrete, you guys, that's something that you guys can see. What is the concrete price for this building?
Yes, ma'am. So the concrete includes, once again, like she mentioned, everything included in this concrete is a slab for the main building, the front gable extension, lean-to, the notch edge details, the vapor barrier, the perimeter footings, and the cross internal beams. For this specific project, you're looking at $27,471.
Correct. I would like to point out, I think the customer added a little bit of extra things with us that he did go with. Those are custom, so we didn't put added on here, but yeah, so sometimes customers are like, hey, I like my house here, but I want the building to be like 10 feet down. Can we add a driveway to connect that? That way it's like I'm not kind of leaving my driveway. Bunch of things that we can do. We've done driveways, sidewalks, things like that to connect your building. That's something that we can do. It is custom, so when we go out to your site, that would be something that you would have to mention because we'd also have to take a look at that and obviously take setbacks into consideration. But turnkey cost, once again, at Henny's, you mentioned it earlier, everything that we have talked about in this building and in this video comes out to $100,848. Includes everything we've mentioned, also all the materials, labor, the equipment for the building, delivery, sales tax, and everything is valid for 5 days. After the post date, keep in mind there might be, again, slight fluctuations depending on where you are at. One thing at Henny's that we cannot go without saying, we offer 2 different product lines, Tubular and the red iron. So we always like to do Tubular versus red iron at the end of all of our pricing videos. I'm not sure if that's something the customer considered here, but if the customer would have done this exact same building in a red iron, how much would that cost him?
So if the client would have opted out for the building being a red iron building, the price would have been $113,133.70.
That's a tongue twister, lots of threes. So 113,133.70. So the number will be on here because it's a little bit of a tongue twister. But again, it mentions everything that we mentioned on here. One thing that is a little different with our red irons is the length of the time that it takes on there. So one of the things to always keep in mind is there is differences with like adding porta potties and things like that. If you are having to go out there, the extent of the project, you know, we do want to respect your privacy and we don't want to be like, hey, you know, or having our team drive depending on how far you are from your local convenience stores, things like that. So there is porta potty fees or things like that that differ, which you will see on the setup that you have on here.
So is this going to be your big next investment or a building similar to this? Feel free to reach out to WolfSteel Buildings. My extension is 011. My name is Argenis. My team name is the Alpha Wolves. They'll be more than glad to assist you, guide you through the whole process, provide you pricing, information, anything you please.
Yeah. So customer loved working with you, not trying to toot your horn, but the customer loved working with you. He loved his building. I think he's given us several feedbacks. I'm going to pop up some of the screenshots of like, you know, he's told us on Facebook, he's sent us a bunch of pictures. He actually is continuing to finish out and do a lot of work to his project. When we went out there, he had already done the epoxy flooring, which you should have seen on the video. He already has his electrical, he already has like his fans going because it is getting a little hot here in Texas. So lots of cool things. He loved working with you, and he did tell us that he did like working. So definitely make sure that you reach out to us, guys, at WolfSteel Buildings. We are literally dedicated to making your dream a reality. So this one is a big investment. We understand that. We want to make sure everything is exactly how you guys like it, day in, day out. I think you guys are practicing with customers and worried about like what is the best price that you guys can get them for what the customer says.
Absolutely, 100%.
One thing I would also like to always remind you guys is we do offer financing. We do have a couple videos which I will tag on here. So we do offer financing with Frostbank, home improvement loans, and then also with upgrades. So there's a couple options that we do have available for you guys. I will be linking the website so you guys can check out different financing options, and then also the link to the videos will be down below. That way you guys can click on them. But if you guys are interested and ready, reach out to us, specifically maybe the Apple Wolf, so they can help you guys.
Yeah, no, real quick regarding financing, we do also take outside financing.
Oh, yeah,
so if you do have your own personal finance, we do absolutely take that as well, make that work as well. But our finance options are great. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. It's been a beautiful, beautiful building. I love working with this specific project. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to us.
And as always, guys, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.